Hi, my name is Cassandra Toomey. I am the WHSS case manager, and this discussion series we wanted to go through understanding your credit score and report. So the goal of this recording and discussion series in general is to really help out renters long-term and those looking for housing, and really help you with your self-sufficiency, increasing your skills, and getting yourself a good credit score and to build it from there. So we want to help you understand what a report is, how it's used on applications, how you can dispute errors on your report, and learning the difference between a credit report and credit score if you're just starting out, and ways to increase your credit score. Most of the information provided on this discussion series is part of the UW Extension course, RentSmart, Financial Literacy, Money Matters, and also from consumerfinance.gov. So what is credit? Credit is really your ability to borrow money, and people see it as if they can trust you with certain things. So a creditor can loan you money just like a landlord will rent you an apartment based on the belief that you'll pay the rent. So how do they get this? They look at, different money that you have loaned out in the past or what's on your credit report. So it really comes down to what is your credit and how can a landlord trust you. So what is included on a credit report? It is a pretty intensive record of your history. So it has a lot of your personal information, which includes your name, address, social security number, and it can go back 7 years on some of the accounts that you've had, which show your history, how much money they were able to loan you, what your monthly balances are, and if you've had any missed payments or late payments. They also show what your public record is related to finances up to 10 years after the filing date. This can include the bankruptcies, tax liens, court judgments, and foreclosures. It also includes inquiries. So anyone that has looked at your credit report in the past 2 years, that can be a hard inquiry or sometimes soft inquiry that you may see from like creditkarma.com as some of the soft inquiries, but most of the hard inquiries are those that are lending out money to you. So how do you obtain a credit report? You can call the number that's listed, the 1-877-322-8228, or you can also mail the form that they have to the annual credit report request services. So there is also a way to go online where you can view them on a weekly basis on annualcreditreport.com. Just be careful to make sure you have the correct website, because there's some that are mimicking the annual credit report. So what does the sample credit report look like if you've never requested one before or tried to get a loan, that sort of thing? It covers your personal information, your employment records, any public records that have to deal with your finances, some adverse accounts that maybe it just went straight to collections, such as medical debt. It also includes if you're up to date, so it shows the monthly tracking that if you paid it or not, credit inquiries, and then also how you can contact those individuals that are handling your accounts if you need to dispute anything. So how do you dispute some errors? You can review your credit report and mail a letter to the credit bureau that maybe reported the inaccurate information. Some accounts that you have only report to one credit bureau instead of all three. So your letter should ask the credit bureau to remove or correct the inaccurate information. It should include your information, name and address, what the mistake is, why you want to fix copies. Always keep track of these things. And then if it's with a business, dispute it to that business for reporting inaccurate information as well. So here is a sample letter. So it has your information, a subject, why are you disputing the information, what you would like done going forward. So why does a credit report matter to landlords? Well, they like to see if you've had any negative accounts related to not paying rent or potentially utilities that have gone to collections, or you have a pattern of unpaid bills to loans that you took out or medical debt, number of applications potentially to other landlords that you have inquiries on your account for that. Make sure the addresses that you have listed as prior history for your rental is accurate. And then you have correct social security number. And then if you have any payment plans in place and if they're up to date. So here's a sample application requirement. This is actually pulled from one. So it does show that some individuals will be denied if you have $599 or lower. If you have between $575 and $599, you may be approved with a cosigner, and that cosigner has to have over 650 credit score. So it's really important to get to know what your credit score is and knowing what you can share with landlords if you might not meet that requirement.
You want to mute? All right, so we talked about this in the communication with landlord series regarding how to explain all of this to a landlord. If there is an error in your credit and you're trying to deal with that, sometimes you have to explain that to and say, hey, look, when you run my credit, you're going to see this. And this is what we're doing about it. Please overlook that, blah, blah, blah. So, I mean, you can do that, but anything that's negative in your application, don't be afraid to write these. There are tons of sample letters out there. The Tenant Resource Center has some. I know in our RentSmart modules, we use those a lot. I've provided a lot of that to our client families as we enroll. So we do want to address any of that negative information. The thing to remember on any application, though, is never leave it blank. It's like taking a test in school. If you leave it blank, you get it wrong. So don't do that. So be open to explaining that. Okay. So there's a little sample layout of how to write that. If you need help with that, just let us know and we'll be happy to help with it. Okay. All right. So we've got there's a little video here that was available through, what was that? US Bank? No. Bank of America, sorry. Bank of America had this on their website. There's a great little video on how credit works and what that applies and how to do that. Are we going to show it? No. Nope. Okay. So the link will be on here later on. So you go ahead and take a look at that. Credit reports versus credit scores. Just keep in mind that the credit report that you get from that annualcreditreport.com does not actually show you a credit score. Okay, if you go on their website and you want that credit score, that's a paid service. You have to pay for that on that website. Some of the other apps out there, people have told me that they use Credit Karma. Credit Karma is great, but it doesn't use all three credit reporting agencies. The Experian app actually does that too. So it won't actually show you the credit score on a credit report, but it does help you understand what's on your credit report, and then you can look into what your credit score is. And if a landlord does run your credit, you have the right to request that document from them of anything that they used if they deny you. So don't be afraid to ask for that credit report. One of the other key things on this that I want you to think about is if you get a recent credit report, you might not have to pay that application fee. So don't be afraid to ask that when you have application fees. Okay, so how how credit is built, what makes up a credit report, what makes up a credit score. In the UW Extension handout, and this is in our RentSmart modules, page 46, it explains what makes up your credit score. So the biggest thing is the payment history. If you look on there, 35% of that is made up of the payment history. 30% is the amount owed. So, pay your bills on time. Don't over extend yourself in terms of the amount of money that you have on credit. And then 15% is based on that length of credit history. So there's a little thought process that you should probably think about. If you've got multiple credit sources, if you've got a credit card that's 10 years old versus a credit card that's 2 years old, it might be better off to keep the credit card that's 10 years old because that shows that you have a credit history of 10 years versus 2. Okay. So, but the credit score is basically just this. It's three digits. It's going to range anywhere from 3 to 850. Obviously, the higher you get, the better off you are. If you're in that middle range, in the 600 range, you might be approved for loans. You might end up paying a little bit more money on interest. So again, the bottom line is it costs you a little bit more money to get money in the form of credit. So try to fix any errors that you have. There's a great blow up of that credit score and how it's calculated. So again, and then the last thing part of that would be the credit mix, and then the new credit that you use. So if you're going to sign up for credit, limit the amount of credit that you're applying for. I know a lot of people shop around for credit cards, and so you're applying for multiple cards. Don't do that. It's going to affect your credit in a very negative way, because those on a credit report, it'll show you credit inquiries and then credit applications. Any new credit you apply for is a credit application. We used to call those a hard pull or a soft pull, but it's an inquiry is checking your credit. An application is applying for credit. So think of it that way. And anytime you take out new loans or you're applying for new loans, it can affect the rate of interest that you pay on other loans if you apply later. So the credit mix, and mix is just the types of credit. So if you have a store credit card, if you have an actual credit card from a credit card company, MasterCard, Visa, that kind of thing, that's a certain type of credit. Home loans and mortgages, car loans, or other short-term loans, even student loans, those are all different kinds of credit. So it's kind of nice to have a good mix of credit in your credit report, because then it'll affect your score. They want to see that you have a variety of credit history and you've got a good payment history. Okay. All right. So improving your credit is tricky. People ask all the time, well, my credit is bad. How do I fix it? There's a bunch of myths out there. People think that this is how you fix it. So the bottom line is pay your bills on time. Remember the payment history is important. So pay the bills on time. Okay. Keep your credit utilization as low as you can. So if you have a credit card with a maximum credit limit of $10,000 and you only use $2,000 of that, that's 20% of that credit card, credit that you're utilizing. If you're using all of it, well, that's 100%. You're maxed out. That is going to adversely affect your credit. A couple of things out there, myths that you want to be aware of. One, using credit when you're, the button on the machine when you're using your debit card does nothing for you. Absolutely nothing. The only thing it does is it possibly affects how that business gets paid and when they get paid. So if you use a debit card and you hit the credit button, it may take that business an extra day to get their money. That's probably not a good thing for the business because it's going to cost them more money and delay their payment. So they may end up resulting in higher prices. Using a debit card in no way affects your credit. Okay. So uh, just using a credit card or a debit card doesn't affect it in any way. Paying off loans, those are always good things to do. If you have any judgments that are out there when you run a credit report and it shows, create a history of payment on those. Even if you're just paying a minimal amount on it, and I've told this to a lot of people, is if I've got a judgment for $2,000 and I'm paying $20 a month on it, at least I'm paying $20 a month, and they can't say that I'm not paying. So you're showing a pattern of payment, which does positively affect your credit. Now, you still have the judgment, and until the judgment is paid off, it's still going to be there, but at least you can show on your credit report that you are making payments. And if you've got receipts, you can use those as evidence when you're applying for any rental properties. Okay. All right. So a couple of ways other, uh, to improve your credit. There's some credit counseling out there. I know, Catholic Charities does a St. Lawrence program, the credit advocacy program, and they can do some of that credit counseling. Your financial institution, so if you have a bank or credit union they're a member of, ask them. They might actually be able to work with you. Some of them actually have workshops that are out there. Did we put those on the link at the end? Okay, so at the end of this, there's going to be some links to some of these. I know there's a Green Path is a Connexus credit union, and Covantage uses another program called It's a Money Thing. Great education videos. So utilize those. They're real easy to follow, and they make a lot of sense. There's also debt settlement companies out there. You see these all the time on TV, especially late at night. Hey, we'll help you consolidate your debts. Basically, you're taking out, you might be taking out a loan to pay off the debt settlement companies, to settle IRS debts. You see those videos all the time, or commercials all the time too. Be careful of those because they're not really benefiting you in some ways, unless there's an end to this whole thing. So just taking a loan out to pay off another loan, you're just transferring debt over to somebody else. So unless there's an actual plan and a goal finish line, but do your homework, check out interest rates, check out what those fees are, because some of those have rollover fees. So you have to pay a transfer fee. It's like 17%, something like that, to transfer your debt from one debt or one card to another. So be leery of those. There's also those credit repair companies. They offer to dispute all of this. Guys, look, those are monthly fees. Most of this stuff you can do yourself. Okay. If you're willing to do a little bit of legwork, if you're willing to write a few letters, and yeah, it's going to cost you some postage and a little bit of time. But if Cassandra talked about how to dispute errors. So if you get your credit report and there's an error on there, dispute it, fix it, eliminate that. And once you've done that, you can get that off of your credit report. It does take some time. I know it's frustrating, but it does have a benefit to you. Okay. So again, going back, pay your bills on time, keep your credit card debt down. Think about that. If I've got $1,000 credit card, I shouldn't go over, $300 ever on my debt on that. Pay it off and don't carry a balance over. If you can't and you have to divide it out, okay. But don't count on credit as an alternate source of income. It's not. It's a debt you owe, and it will come back and haunt you. Keep any of those older accounts open. I have a credit card that's over 30 years old. So it's like, why would I ever get rid of that? Keep your credit accounts, diverse. If you've got low, short-term loans versus a long-term loan, if you've got that credit card versus maybe a student loan or another loan that you took out, that's fine. Just make sure you're making timely payments. And then don't apply for a bunch of credit applications. A good rule of thumb is one a year. Don't add more than one a year. Okay. We're going to all need credit at some point. So when you need it, it's nice to be able to apply for it. Just don't overextend yourself. And then always, always, always dispute inaccurate information if you see it. Okay. So basically, that's about it. There's a bunch of information on here. You can learn more in Marathon County. So we broke this down to some of the county resources. Uh, you know, there's the Getting Ahead program here in Wausau that's taught by St. Vincent de Paul. Great program. They use a book called Bridges Out of Poverty. The UW Extension, we use the Rent Smart program in our own program in WHSS series. And then also the Money Matters program. They have a financial literacy group that does that. Catholic Charities has that St. Lawrence program. They used to have a Get Smart or Money Smart coalition here in Wausau. It hasn't been real active lately. I know Covantage was a big player in that. Now it's got Abbey Bank in there. We were just on their website, checked out some of those things. There's not a lot of information there, but don't be afraid to look around. Like I said, Covantage Credit Union has, if you go on their website, this is a free service that they give to their members, but you don't need to have an account there in order to access that. I just tried logging on, not using any member information, and you can get to that. It's a money thing. They're real simple, easy to follow videos, great resource to explain this stuff. That Connexus Credit Union uses a program called Green Path. Also, so if you go on to Connexus Credit Union, and we'll check the local credit unions and financial institutions in your area. Those are great resources for you. In Wood County, the Love Inc. program, they have that Faith in Finance group that they are workshops that they put on. I was there, met with them, toured that. Great people, awesome information. And then they also use the Rent Smart program. And then in Marshfield, they have the Rent Ready program, and it's actually the Rent Smart program. They just added a few things to it. And then Catholic Charities serves that. Now in Lincoln County, the Catholic Charities out of La Crosse does not service your area, unfortunately. So the UW Extension Rent Smart program would probably be the best option there. And then, of course, Covantage and that Connexus stuff. But there's a ton of resources out there. I encourage you to look for them. YouTube has some. Always take everything that you see on the internet with a grain of salt. And here we are on the internet. So, but if it's good information and it benefits you, by all means, use it. All right.